Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Cam, and Oscar season is just about to wrap up. So, throughout the month of March, I'm going to be reviewing a couple of Best Picture winners that I have always wanted to review but have just never had a chance to. Thankfully, this Oscar season has been free of controversy, and no one has been mad at anyone whatsoever. You just show the poster. Just show it. I haven't seen it, so I have no opinion on it. But I just know that not a ton of people like it. This limited series is going to be made up of two movies that have won Best Picture that I have seen before and two that I have not seen before. And I'm going to be telling you all which ones I have and have not seen. I'm going to be starting things off with one that I have seen. And not only have I seen, but I believe just to be a fantastic film across the board, and it is one of my all-time favorites. Like if I were to make a top 10, 15, 25, it would certainly be in the conversation. It is, yeah, it's Amadeus.
Everything you've heard is true.
Amadeus was directed by Milos Forman, who had directed One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, another Best Picture winner, and would go on to direct movies such as Man on the Moon and The People vs. Larry Flint. And it starred Tom Hulce and F. Murray Abraham, among many others. This is based on not one, but two stage plays. One called Amadeus and Salieri by Alexander Pushkin, and another just called Amadeus, created by Peter Shaffer. And it is the story of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, played by Tom Hulce. Chances are you know who he is. He is the de facto answer to the question, name a classical musician. Mozart. Like everyone knows who Mozart is. And the movie tells the story of his relationship with Antonio Salieri, played by F. Murray Abraham. The movie starts out with Salieri as an older man nearly killing himself and saying that he was the one responsible for Mozart's death. And the movie tells the story from the perspective of Salieri and shows that it's not exactly a case of let's just say there's more nuance to it than that. This is one of the first long movies that I remember watching. My dad showed this to me for the first time because I was really into music growing up. And so and I remember thinking to myself, this is a long movie, but I'm still really digging this. And this is one of those movies that, as I have gotten older, I have found new ways to love and respect it. This is a movie that has layers to it. It's not just a music biopic. There's more to it than that. It's a study on envy, revenge. You can throw a little bit of greed in there too. It's a story about one man pledging his lifelong mission to creating great music and being frustrated that his great music is overshadowed by even greater music coming from someone who he feels is undeserving. Amadeus really is more the story of Antonio Salieri. It tells his life story about how music was looked down upon in his household, how when his father passed away, he dedicated himself to music almost exclusively. He made a pact with God, saying that I will forego every earthly pleasure, except for chocolate, in order to make great music. And he does. He gets accepted into Emperor Joseph II's court in Austria. He is the court composer. He is the guy. He made it. And then Mozart showed up. Started as a child prodigy, been playing music his whole life. He played music for the Pope in Rome ever since he was like a little boy. And now he still is a great music, but the movie does a good job of showing that he is incredibly good at his job and his music has become timeless, but in the moment, he had a lot of flaws. Specifically, he was a drinker. He had a dirty sense of humor. He loved fart jokes. He cheated on his wife. The movie does a great job of showing that Amadeus, while being incredibly talented, was also an incredibly complicated person. And Salieri, with him, the levels of just envy and just general anger towards Mozart steadily grows and grows and grows and grows throughout until it reaches a breaking point. And then he severs all ties with God, saying, I'm going to kill your creation. And he proceeds to at least go about it in a certain kind of way. There have been a number of reviews calling Amadeus just a fantastic film, and Lord knows that this review is certainly going to be adding to the chorus of this is one of the all-time greats. However, with this time around, I want to highlight three scenes in particular, one from the beginning, the middle, and the end of the film, and just kind of tie all of that into why I think this is just one of the greatest of all time. One from near the beginning is when we see Salieri meet Mozart for the very first time, both indirectly and directly. In the indirect sense, Salieri is at a party hosted by the emperor. He's doing his thing, he's milling around, and then he sees Mozart chasing a woman, the woman who would later go on to become his wife, Costanza, chasing her into a room. And, well, the two make out basically, and he plays games with her and tells her to eat his shorts, among other things.
You filthy fiend!
But when the music starts, Mozart goes,
My music. They've started without me.
I'm late, and he runs out of the room, he runs into the court, he picks up the baton, and he plays the music, and he conducts his music in just a manner that just cannot be described as just, it's just outstanding. And after the performance is over, we cut to the present time in the film, and we see older Salieri say,
That was Mozart. That giggling, dirty-minded creature I'd just seen.
because Salieri has been painting a mental picture in his head of what Mozart might look like, and just laying out the reputation that Mozart has built for himself, only to see this. The disappointment is just permeating throughout that whole scene. And then, a little bit later on, Salieri meets Mozart for the first time. He even conducts a welcoming march for him, a very nice piece of music that the emperor plays and does okay with. There's a bit of a running gag that the emperor is not very good at playing music. But then when Mozart shows up and is like, this is a very nice piece of music, can I play it? And Salieri's like, sure, why not? And Mozart goes on to improve the song. He's adding stuff, he adds little flourishes that Salieri never did, and he just remakes the song in his own image. He concludes the song with a little doo-doo-doo, something like that. He turns to him, Mozart does the laugh, and then it dead cuts to Salieri looking up at his crucifix with the most the most I hate you face I have ever seen in my life. Scene number two, in the middle of the movie, just about at the very well half point, at least on the DVD that I have, because it's a double-sided DVD, and so this is where DVD 1 ends. Mozart has become court composer, he's doing his thing, he's testing the nerves of the court to the point where he's pretty much one mistake away from getting kicked out. He's made his opera about a brothel. He's done Figaro, which was a great opera, but at the time only made it to 9 performances, which was pretty much a flop back then. It made the emperor yawn, which was just a travesty back in those days. And so all of that stress combined with the fact that his father passes away, he creates the opera Don Giovanni in just a phenomenal sequence where you see all of this being acted out on stage, the Don Giovanni, and you just see it on stage. Salieri goes to every single performance. He sees it and he just says to himself, this is it. This is my chance. Throughout the course of the movie, Salieri insists to this priest that he is telling this story to that he killed Mozart, when all evidence shows that Salieri didn't really kill Mozart, but he certainly didn't help the cause either. Salieri could have taken out Mozart whenever he wanted to, but a combination of things being admiration of Mozart's music and just general anger at God. Yeah, like Salieri was just gonna let this oil fire burn itself out, and that's what he does. And then the last scene I want to talk about comes at the very end, where after Mozart has lost everything, he's making music for a local opera, like something you've never even heard of. It's still great, but he's making it as seen as low rent. Costanza has left him with their son. He's drinking himself nearly to death. He is on the verge of just he's almost done and collapses mid-performance. Salieri, out of a combination of I want to assume greed because he wants Mozart to continue making music, but also a twinge of sympathy, collects Mozart and brings him back to Mozart's home. And the remaining 20 minutes of this scene, 15, 20 minutes, is Salieri and Mozart collaborating on the Requiem Mass. For context, Salieri visits Mozart under the guise of the Don Giovanni costume, which was represented by one that his father wore to a costume party, and commissions Mozart to create a Requiem Mass for a large sum of money which Mozart desperately needs. And so, Mozart is creating the Requiem Mass on his deathbed, and Salieri is just like, okay, 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 this, and he's writing it down. Like Mozart's saying the music, and Salieri is basically his proxy, his brain, his arms, and his legs, if you will, and his hands, crucially.
You have it. Go too fast. Do you have it? Go too fast. One moment, please. One moment.
And Salieri's just like, you need to slow down. And Mozart's like, just go, like, you need to slow down. I need to finish. And then Mozart every once in a while is like, show me. And then Salieri shows him the music, and he's like, perfect. And just throughout that whole stretch, Mozart is just riffing off this great music, just little by little by little. And Salieri is just trying his best to write it down. Flames did not fly off the page, but if that scene would have continued, the page probably would have been smoking. And as the morning dawns, Salieri is still writing, Mozart is still going, and Mozart is pretty much almost dead at this point. And Mozart thanks Salieri and says, for a moment I thought that you hated me. Forgive me. Salieri does hate Mozart, but Mozart doesn't know that. And Mozart goes to his grave knowing full well that Salieri likes him. And Salieri has never let the mask slip of, I hate you. You took everything from me that should have been mine. That never happens. Salieri's just like, you're the best composer I know. Like, I'm gonna help.
It was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
Honestly, this video can't do it justice. It's getting an amazing grade. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, greatest of all time conversation, easily by all stretch. If you have somehow never seen this movie, do yourself a favor and watch it. It is long, it's just about 3 hours long in that ballpark, but trust me, it is worth the time investment. It is funny, it is serious, it's dark, it's light, it's everything you could ever want in something like this. And I'm not going to do a thing in this series where I say that this should have clearly won Best Picture over this because I haven't seen every Best Picture winner, so I'm not going to do a whole compare contrast thing. But 1984 was a great year if this was the winner that year. If you have seen Amadeus, what did you think about it? Let me know in the comments. I would love to read what you have to say. And stay tuned for next Sunday where I will be covering definitively the first Best Picture winner in this series that I have never seen before, but have heard nothing but great things about. It is 1995's Braveheart.